I think we're okay.
Okay, here we go. Meeting is called to order. We'll need a roll call to determine if we've got a quorum.
Wilson.
Here.
Miller.
No.
Tepley. Here. Coppernoll.
Here.
Jelinek.
Here.
Bakerlin.
Here.
Cairns. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Was this meeting properly noticed?
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we need to amend the agenda. We don't have minutes, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're amending the agenda to remove approval of the minutes, which puts us at discussion and action items. Item 1 is a public hearing on the application of the Marion M. Curley Revocable Trust to divide a parcel of land located at 286 West 6th Street, tax ID 276-1645-7000. This is the public hearing for the application for the division of the parcel at 286 West 6th Street. Jason, did you want to introduce this?
No, I think that's,
Or Ashley going to, or who is going to do that?
Well, Mark could not be with us tonight, but we do have the here.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Okay, can we get a microphone to the
I
surveyor?
can just talk about
Okay, Sean, we know that you can.
it. My name is Sean Walsh. I'm a surveyor for the applicant. This involves a property at the intersection of 6th Street and Jefferson, which is a burial property. It's the restaurant and multifamily housing behind the restaurant. The applicants wish to divide the property such that the restaurant is separated from the rest of the land and is able to operate autonomously. The multifamily housing is to be torn down and replaced with new multifamily housing. The land division and the lot lines have been arranged so that the setbacks and everything are in compliance with the requirements per Mark. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. Any questions?
Questions for the surveyor? Okay, Jason or Ashley, Mark's not here, but I assume you discussed this with him. Did he have any issue with doing this? He must not if it's on the agenda.
No, he did not have any issue with doing it. However, in your packet, there's a staff report on the request and Mark's recommendation. At the end of the staff report, there are conditions that he's outlining whether or not they're met. And so, as Sean mentioned, with setbacks and things like this, does it comply? The only note that Mark gave for me is the suggestion to consider an access easement to the rear property.
Yeah, Mark and I exchanged a little conversation on that, and he's concerned with a temporary access easement to the rear of the property until the rest of the property is developed. That's just kind of an advisory note to the family. It's not really a condition of approval, as I understand it.
Correct.
Would that be an easement off 7th Street, or where are we talking?
6th, yeah.
I'm sorry.
So the main
Off
access at
6th.
the main access at this point is off from 6th, not
Mhm.
Jefferson. And there's a two-way easement there right now. So the rentals to the east have a joint easement with the restaurant so that they can use each other's driveways to get back there. Mark's concern was that that easement doesn't reach all the way back to what would be the new land division. And so while things are in flux, it was his recommendation that they just draft a temporary easement to cover that.
Okay, which would exist until the project was complete?
Yep.
Thank you.
Doesn't have to be part of the CSM because it's temporary.
Thank you. Okay, well, before Sean sits down, any other questions for the surveyor? Go ahead.
Potentially, if we go back to Jason's map, because it's not in our packet, is so in the splitting of the property, so right now the let's call them residential areas and the Dario touch. So in the setbacks, there's going to be the separation between them?
Yeah,
Is
there's a common wall there now, which
Yeah.
will be the division point, and that wall is actually illustrated just above the lot. Yeah, where his cursor is pointing right now.
Okay,
That's the common wall, and that will remain.
okay,
And so the lot line is situated to allow the necessary setback off that.
okay, so they're not,
Yeah, and that will then be an
setbacks.
exterior wall.
Okay,
Yeah.
traditional setbacks are kind of coming into play, okay.
Thank you, sir. Okay, show of hands, because I know a lot of you, I don't know everybody. How many members of the Carley family do we have with us tonight? Just show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 3 of you. Do any of you have anything you'd like to tell us tonight?
I don't believe so.
Okay, any questions for the family? Okay, we discussed this in the past, and I think,
One hand.
yep, go ahead. We really need to get, yeah.
I guess my only concern would be where they will have their parking lot for their people.
For the new residential property line. Okay, we really need to use the microphone to make sure it gets picked up on for the public. But would you, whoever can answer that, where parking would be for the residents of the new residential?
It'll be
Just on the street as it now,
on Jefferson
on
Street.
Jefferson
Yeah,
Street.
the current proposal and the site plan that Mark had worked with the family on has the parking on the street.
So basically, the same as it's always been, because there's always been parking on the street for the
Yes.
people that live in that area anyway. So no change to parking in the neighborhood from what you've had.
My concern was that they don't park against my fence,
Where's that?
right, it butts right to their property, 7th Street, right behind.
Okay,
I went through this at the other house, and, but eventually somebody will find it. And that's my concern, I don't want them
I don't
take that
think-
parking away from the
In the
fence.
current driveway where it is, by that little house?
The what?
In the current driveway by that little house? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
the fence they got.
Yeah, that house will be
Talking about
gone.
the chain link fence.
I
house will be
just
gone, too.
wondering where you're gonna park your cars for
Oh,
this.
that house will be gone too.
The what?
That house will be gone too, and there'll be no driveway there.
So-
Well, that's.
We will be a setback from where your line is.
I
Yes,
just
John.
don't know where you're gonna park these cars at.
In the street.
So
Where at?
there won't, right here, there won't be any more parking on your side there next to your chain link fence, because that driveway is gonna go away. When they tear down those buildings and rebuild the apartments on that site, they're not gonna have a driveway coming in there anymore, so there won't be an opportunity for anybody to park there or hit your fence anymore. So that'll cure that problem.
All right.
okay. Okay, again, this is the public hearing on the application of Marion M. Carly Revocable Trust to divide the parcel of land at 286 West 6th Street. Does anyone else have a comment or a question?
Question.
Mhm.
So it's a little difficult to tell how many apartments, living dwellings are in current. So current compared to new, is it going to be 2 more, the same, 3 more?
How
No,
many units?
Currently, there's 4 units there,
Okay,
and then there will only be 2.
the new one's going to be only 2. Okay.
Is this it's a duplex then,
Mhm.
in place of what's currently behind the dairy?
Mhm.
Got it. With on-street parking,
Mhm.
all right?
And just to confirm, this is just the gray building, or is this the white building with the red roof? Just as simply the gray building?
No.
Oh,
No,
both,
Mhm.
both the,
it's the units along Jefferson Street.
okay, so now, okay, just that one,
And then
okay.
the house separate with the red roof, but not the
But
ones
that one,
that,
but the red roof is staying?
No.
Okay, that's gonna go away too.
right.
Okay,
The only ones staying are the ones that are in the back.
okay.
How many units are in the bar?
4.
Okay, any further question or comments from the commission? Okay, I'll ask one more time, I have twice, I'll ask one more time. Public hearing on the application of Marion M. Carly Revocable Trust to divide a parcel of land located at 286 West 6th Street, tax ID 276-1645-7000. Any public comments? Okay, hearing none, then I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the application of Marion M. Carly Revocable Trust to divide a parcel of land located at 286 West 6th Street, tax ID 276-1645-7000.
So moved.
Motion to close the public hearing, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Geleni. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of closing the public hearing on the application for the division of the parcel, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Next on the agenda, consider the application of the Marion M. Carly Revocable Trust to divide a parcel of land located at 286 West 6th Street, tax ID 276-1645-7000. So we had the public hearing, we've heard from the surveyor, we had questions from the neighbors, comments, brief from Carly family. Any questions or concerns from anyone on the utility commission? I have a simple question. When would you like to begin the work? Do you have that planned yet?
No.
Okay. Okay, just so I know, but, okay. That's my only question. Anyone else? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to recommend, we have to send this to council, don't we? To recommend to the city council that they approve the application of the Marion M. Carly Revocable Trust to divide the parcel of land at 286 West 6th Street, tax ID 276-1645-7000.
I make a motion that we recommend the division of the parcel to the council.
Motion for Mr. Jelenic, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second for Mr. Wilson, is there discussion? Hearing none, I'd like a roll call on that, please.
Fagerland.
Aye.
Jelenic.
Aye.
Coppernoll.
Aye.
Hepley.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, item 3, update and action on finalization of project modifying industrial park parcel boundaries. So this has been an ongoing issue for a while.
So Matt, let's figure out if we can communicate here. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We gotcha.
Just wait a minute while some people leave the room and we'll get this rolling.
Should I share my screen?
Okay, we're ready on this one.
Yeah, so let me set this up just a little bit for us. I'm gonna minimize you there for a second, Matt, so they can't see you, but this project began in 2023 when we noticed that the way that the industrial park had been subdivided included standards that were probably appropriate for when it was originally designed, but they were standards that didn't really any longer apply. So for example, it showed us kind of keeping ownership of strips of land in the industrial park. The lots were subdivided in a way that it made some of them difficult to use because they were narrow, and so we recognize that somebody coming in may want to buy a lot and a half instead of one lot. We also recognize that that it wasn't properly documented in our survey where there were retention ponds and or drainage ditches. So those were a number of things that we were trying to address at the time. Matt and his team came out, they surveyed the industrial park, they made a bunch of proposals. We've had conversations back and forth, but this had been lower priority, and we finally got to a point where it's like we got to get this thing knocked out here. So I've asked Matt of Vuebeck Engineering to come and kind of talk through the map that we're proposing, and also there's an issue of whether or not we would like to dispose of some land in the industrial park that, again, there's small outlots that had been reserved in the past development process, but I think it's probably more conducive to pass that land on. And so I'm going to turn it over to Matt to kind of talk through the plan. If everything goes well tonight, we hear your thoughts on it. What we would propose is that we'll bring this back at hopefully the next planning commission, so that we'll have to go through an approval of certified survey maps here, and then it'll get passed on to council, much like you just did with the previous agenda item. So with that, let me go ahead and get Matt back up there. Okay, should be good, Matt.
All right, hopefully everyone can see my screen and can hear me well. If you can, just let me know. But thanks, Jason, that's a good summary. The map you're seeing here is our surveyor's plat of survey. So the plat of survey is basically just showing through the surveyor what is out there now before these additional, or these new surveys are gonna change the lots and whatnot. So that's the entire industrial park. And then I guess what we worked together on was separate certified survey maps to change the lot lines and remove the outlots that Jason referenced earlier. I color coded these. I guess for the purpose of this discussion, I thought it made sense to do it here so everyone can see big picture of what's out there now and then how we're proposing to change it. On the side, we do have 4 separate certified survey maps that would be approved at a future meeting, but I'm going to summarize what they are now. And I'm just going to start at kind of the west side and work their way east. So this is on the west side of West Rob Road. The existing building improvements are here. And then the northern areas, lot 31, 30, and 29 are undeveloped right now. And then this area was the regional stormwater pond. And as you can see, there's kind of narrow lots throughout everywhere. And, you know, the stormwater outlet was never separated, or the stormwater was never separated as a separate lot. So what this survey is doing is separating, creating a lot for the existing, you know, building and improvement area. And then a separate lot for the remaining undeveloped area, and then an outlot for the stormwater management pond, just to kind of clean that up and get rid of, you know, the lot, you know, to clean up the existing improved areas that still had outlots and whatever, and then clean up the future lot to make it just more efficient for future development and separate that stormwater as an outlot, which really is the cleanest way to do it.
So let's just pause right there, Matt, real quick, and maybe we'll take this by section. Are there any questions on that particular section to the left there? Yeah, again, it was pretty dirty, right? We had lot lines going through the middle of city-owned buildings. We didn't have any way to retain ownership of the retention pond, which is critical to that industrial park. It actually would have been transferred to other owners in the event that we would have sold. So if there's no questions there, we'll let them go on, but I just want to make sure we're covering it as we go.
As you recall, we had some lot lines in the middle of Industrial Drive. We had them in the next lot over. This was a real mess when we grabbed it, so that's all I have for it.
Good? Okay, let's go to section 2 there.
All right, so now we're going to hop over to the east side of West Rock Road, and that's going to be between kind of the, I guess, outlot 9, which is, I guess, kind of the alley. But there was lots 26, 25, 24, and 23. And then 22, there was the drainage went through kind of the southern, this hatch is that the drainage way through here went through basically the southern half of lot 23. And that's really critical, obviously, to maintain, you know, for future development. So what we did there was separate that drainage area as an outlot that would be retained for drainage. That's kind of not developable. And then combine the southern half of lot 23, 24, 25, and 26 all into one lot as lot 39, which would then be the developable area, and get rid of all the kind of the narrow lots here in between, and just kind of, I guess, cleans it up. You know, for future development, really kind of addresses maintaining this ditch for the future, separate from the, you know, the remaining developable lot. So that kind of summarizes that. If anyone has any questions with that.
Any questions on that section?
So that turns into one lot and then an outlot. Is that correct?
Correct. That's
Okay.
correct. That's correct.
All right.
But actually, there's one lot, an outlot, and then there is lot 20. What is that one right there, Matt?
Lot 22, and that's still going to remain as lot 22, and it was kind of a natural subdivide because where the drainage ditch was, it kind of naturally divided the lot. So there's a lot 22 still, and now there's going to be what we're calling lot 39 to the north of the drainage.
So one of the, I'm sorry.
Just a real quick question. So it's more marketable with all those lots together as one lot?
That's what I was going to comment on. So one of the things that we were trying to do, or one of the goals that I had, was to try to allow us the most flexibility as possible. So for example, you see the size of this building, and what we did at that point in time is we transferred the ownership of about double the amount of land that he actually used to develop. So one of the ideas was to make this one big lot, and if someone says, well, I'd like to do a building just like that one, this allows us the opportunity to subdivide off a smaller amount of land that's commensurate with what they actually need. That's one thing. Second thing is that there is a potential that we could create a kind of a roadway that would come in and would allow building development in 4 spots instead of just 2 spots. So and on top of it, we were also trying to clean up all these dashed lines that were set aside as land that was supposed to or intended to stay in our ownership. And so in the transfer, it got really messy. So this way, we're combining the lot, recognizing that we may have to separate it back out, but we'll separate it back out when a person or a developer says, I need this much land. And we're cleaning up the utility right away so that we won't maintain ownership, but there'll be easements. And so the developers will mold that. It's not our responsibility, to mold that. And I think there'll be a lot less confusion with the transfer and the development of the land and lots. So that's just a little bit of the thought process that went in on that. And again, this was a big factor for us, right? Because we had this was a lot, right? Over half of it was undevelopable because it's a retainage ditch. And so to now expand this into one and say, well, if you would like a piece of land and you only need a quarter of this lot, we can do that, or an eighth or whatever. I think there's ways that we can do that, and we've got it prepared for that versus having to go through all of this when a potential developer comes and says, I just need a small piece.
Sounds good.
Further questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to hop over to the east side between East Rob and AA, and that's going to be the existing outlot 3. And these are these narrow outlots we were referencing that, at the time it probably made sense, but basically narrow 20-foot wide outlots that, usually outlots mean either undevelopable or for utilities or for some other reason it wasn't identified in the survey otherwise, other than, narrow outlets throughout. So outlot 3, lot 3, outlot 4, lot 4, outlot 5, lot 5, and outlot 6. We, to clean that up, we're combining all those lots into lot 1, into one lot, and then get rid of these outlots. Again, just to better prepare the lot for future development, allow more flexibility. These red lines on the north and south that you see here, that's already underground electric lines, so those outlots will just be replaced with underground utility easements that would be easements there, but then the land would transfer, at the time of development, when the lots are sold. So I guess anyone have any questions with this area?
Jason, are those the lots we talked about? They kind of have the steep pitch that would need the excavation out of there to do, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so part of this was, you're recalling correctly, part of what we had signed up for with Bierbicker was to also do a soil balancing engineering on those lots to figure out how much fill we needed to remove in order to make it buildable, because there's quite a pitch there. And so they provided those calculations. I've used them and referred to them a couple of times. One of the goals that I have following this is actually to ask Bierbicker Engineering to do an RFP for the removal of that fill. And we don't know what that'll come back like yet, but it's possible that there could be someone interested in the fill, and or we consider giving it away just to end up with flat buildable lots, which right now this is it's a barrier to entry, honestly. They're going to pay X dollars for a lot that then they have to spend a lot of money trying to get the fill off of. So that was part of the program that we, and the contract that we had with Bierbecker, and they provided that information for soil removal.
So everyone here, because I don't know if everyone here knows this or not, a few different times in the last few years, different business owners have approached Jason, myself, we're both, and said, I might want one of those lots, and that every single time, the reason they didn't do it was because of the amount of excavating. They're very steep, and it would be expensive to make it buildable, and therefore, I think getting them flattened, however we do that, makes a lot of sense. There's always been interest in the land, yeah, on those lots.
Yeah.
You mentioned that they would want to do an RFP. It's an RFP.
A request for a proposal.
Okay.
So we would at this point, I'm contemplating have Bierbecker do a request for proposal
Okay.
for a excavating contractor that would move the fill
Okay.
either to a spot that we wanted to store it on, or to market it into sell it to someone else, so that we could offset the cost of having it removed, or maybe have no cost in removing it, but the lots are, they're ready to go. You walk up to one and say, I want that, we cut it out for you and you go.
Perfect. I guess anyone have any other questions on this area? Otherwise, I'm gonna head to the south to the last area, which I'm showing in red here, which is industrial and AA. The intersection there was lot 2. That did include an outlot that ran from industrial all the way up to East Rob. And then that outlot also kind of ran in between the two businesses here to AA. So, and that's, I guess, part of what we're here for, is to just seek clarification in terms of the direction to proceed there. I guess the more straightforward part is this lot 2, getting rid of this outlot and just converting it to an easement, which is needed. So just, again, it's one lot, an easement's still there if needed for a utility extension or whatever, but the removal of the outlot kind of cleans that up into one lot. And then up here, where this wasn't just one outlot, I guess we're showing to change this segment of the outlot to what I guess the survey calls as outlot 12. It's 0.11 acres, so the outlot is owned by the city, but it's maintained, I think, by the business there. And then this part of the outlot is, I guess, would be outlot 13 is 0.22 acres. So this is 0.22 acres. This is 0.11 acres. It's owned by the city but maintained by others. I guess what we were thinking is a potential way to clean it up would be to turn the outlots into a potential easement to keep utility access possible, but then possible transfer the land to the neighbors, just to I guess clean it up, because they're truly the ones at this point maintaining it. The city really isn't at this point, even though they technically are owning the outlots. So I guess that's where part of the reason I guess we're here before going to the next round of finalizing everything, just wanting to get input from you all to, I guess, get your thoughts on one, transferring it, and then I guess two, just transfer it at, no cost, or I guess what value would be assigned to it.
So my thought would be, and my recommendation would be that if we can move through a process fairly inexpensively to just give those small slivers of land to the property owners that have been maintaining it, it cleans up our lot lines. There's a lot less confusion in the base plat map, and we're able to accomplish what's there through standard easements. It's doubtful that that land would have much effect on a tax roll or anything like that, but at least we're cleaning up some of the boundaries and borders that I think lend themselves to confusion whenever we look at things like this. And as you're familiar, there's numerous locations like this throughout the city that I would contemplate us working on and cleaning up. This would just be the first of those.
So as you look up there, you refer to them as slivers of land. So somehow through the time as lots were bought, developed, and so on, we wound up with these sort of leftover sort of, and I mean, when you look at that map, that's what it looks like, and what you're saying, well, I mean, honestly, if you went to sort of try to sell or develop, as you called it, a sliver of land, it's not gonna be very marketable. So it doesn't, there's no value there, and so this just makes them part of the parcel owned by whoever bought the lot, correct? Just makes it part of their land.
Right.
They're already mowing and whatever else. I can't see any damage to the city doing that.
I'm not aware of any, and we've talked with Matt and his team, and, you know, Ashley and I have talked about it, we've talked about it with, you know, other people that we get counsel and advice from, and there doesn't seem to be any outstanding reason why we would want to keep these very small, you know, .0, whatever it was, .11 acres, when, again, there's another property owner who's already maintaining it, and we can accomplish what we need through easement. If the sections were larger, it might be something that I would propose that we would try to sell, right? But this, I think, since they're such small areas, we could always ask if the landowner is willing to, you know, cover title or something like that. But the amount of money that we're talked about to get those into the hands of a private landowner, they might hit the tax roll, but it cleans everything up at the industrial park, I think is worth just cleaning up the confusion.
Well, would it also potentially help the city of, you don't own this anymore, so if something happens to happen on this 3-foot strip of land, it's not your problem.
Yeah, there always, and
Liability.
for any property owner, there is liability, that includes the city, so that's a great point.
Well, and it's not, we're not seeing it yet in this area, but when we talk about
Yeah,
max.
I personally don't see any downside in doing it, given how narrow it is. I believe from this, the benefit the city would have would be keeping access through an easement, which I think would happen at the same time as the transfer being outlawed. And, I completely agree, and you're right, the liability issues, and it just avoids any confusion in the future.
What he said.
Go ahead, Ashley.
We do the practice of easements for utilities all over the city already, so it's not new or unusual. And then what we're doing when we're trying to maximize flexibility and use of space, by eliminating those outlots, that affects where your property line is, which affects where your setback is. So we're actually opening up more land to be available to develop in those areas, so it gives us more flexibility.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this point? Okay.
Just to clarify, we were just talking about the 2 outlots, is that correct?
Correct, so the lower lot 2 there, that easement there that was created, we would just combine it, and that does affect the setback, right, there's a good example. And so just the outlot 1, that one, and then the one that goes horizontal on the page, those 2 there, we would approach the property owners and ask if they would receive that to make their lots more complete, and under the condition that we would keep the easement, right, for utilities should we need it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Matt, did you have anything else for us? I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, you can.
Anything else?
No,
Matt?
no, I don't have anything else. With that direction, I think we could take the next step there and, coordinate with the property owners, and then with that, I think we'd be ready to finalize all the CSMs we talked about in, a future meeting.
So are you looking for a motion to recommend that to council?
Yeah, I think that what we would need is to recommend to council that we dispose of those 2 sections of property. I hadn't thought about wording because I wasn't sure how the conversation was going to go.
If we do that, we really need the parcel numbers and all that to be specific on what land it is. I can't say.
We know it outlots 12 and 13 in the industrial park plat. Confirm with Matt that I got that right.
Does that sound right? Or was it 12?
So it's the existing outlot 1 that the new CSM will be outlot 12 and outlot 13. The new survey is going to say outlot 12 and outlot 13.
So how do we need to phrase
Not
it?
to confuse anyone, but this is the actual legal survey that references outlot 12 and outlot 13. So like for the recommendation, I think it would be, I think it'd be right to reference outlot 12 and outlot 13 of the new CSM.
Okay, how do we need to phrase this?
Recommend the council to approve disposition of outlot 12 and outlot 13 of the new and proposed CSM. I don't know if we need the reason why in
Okay,
there.
did you get that?
Yeah, I did.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have the motion and the second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I'd like a roll call, please.
Alright. Tepley,
Aye.
Cockrell,
Aye.
Jelinek,
Aye.
Fagerlin,
Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay, next on our agenda tonight.
Hey, thank you, Matt, very
Thanks,
much.
Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Eva, thanks a lot.
All right,
We'll talk.
you bet. Next up, we have something called the Lamont subdivision. Preliminary discussion, and what I'd like to do before we get into what they want to do and where we are with it, Mr. Perry, if you could turn that camera, I would like the people of our city to get familiar with the two people sitting behind.
We can stand up too.
Okay.
You go first. You go first.
Okay, so,
Well, yeah, we're gonna have you talk a bit.
Okay.
So, we'll let you introduce yourself, then maybe I'll tag on, because you'll cover it all anyway.
yeah, so Ellen grew up here. I'm Mike Lamont. I'm the brother-in-law of Jim Harris, the football coach that was here. Married my big sister, Kathy Harris. Kathy wanted to move into town, so I went to my project manager, who's also my boss most of the time. And Ellen, growing up here, managed to kick enough bushes and looked at a bunch of properties. Met Rosalie Wheat, who had 2 lots for sale on Fern Drive and the 12 acres behind it. So what I was looking for was a zero barrier home that my sister could drive into on the main living plateau. But Rosalie said, well, we own that 12 acres. We had planned on developing that so Rainbow Road would be an inaccessible access for you to come into a home built on Fern. So I said, well, how much for the 12 acres? So I ended up buying the 2 lots and the 12 acres. You want to take over now for a while?
I will, for a minute. Okay, Ellen, anyway, I'm Ellen Keller Evans. The Keller may be very familiar to a number of you. I grew up here, my parents grew up here, my grandparents grew up here. My father was Rod's mailman, Mayor Todd's mailman, Ray's mailman. So, and who here, very few people in this town did not know my mother, Phyllis Keller. So I miss her daily and feel that coming back here is like a huge homecoming for me. So I'm very thrilled to be involved with this building project that just kind of, we put out in the universe and fell into our laps. So we're thrilled that we can maybe bring some new houses and new homes to Richland Center. So that's what we're working on now, and I hope you like what we have to show you.
So, well done. Anyhow, what do you
I'm gonna give a little bit more background.
Yep,
So,
yep, go ahead.
I would say we probably started having conversations about this about a year ago.
That's
We
right.
closed a year ago.
Yeah. So I did produce this cover sheet. I apologize it didn't upload, but I'm going to refer to this here. So what we're doing here is a conceptual and preliminary planning for a residential subdivision in the area west of Rainbow Drive in Allison Park area that has been ongoing for nearly a year. So we've been working on this a long time already. Michael Lamont and Ellen Keller Evans have hired an engineering firm and have been in consistent consultation and collaboration with economic development and city utilities to work to advance this subdivision that we're going to talk about conceptually tonight. On Wednesday, 8/21/24, the city staff building and development team, which consists of economic development, city administration, public works, zoning, and the utility superintendents, met and reviewed with Michael and Ellen the subdivision and this concept that is being provided to you tonight. There have been multiple iterations of this, so lots of thought has gone into it. A lot of conversation about water retention. Well, that's one of the main issues when you're developing on a hillside, is how we deal with stormwater. So we've had a lot of very good conversations, and the development team came away from that meeting believing that the subdivision concept is viable, right? So they feel good about the progress we've made to date. So this is really the first step in kind of making this more official, is to get it before the Planning Commission, have you look at it, ask questions. You know, if you've got any concerns, we can come back and address those, but it was time to get this in front of you. We've been working on it a while, and it's going to require that we engage in some very extensive planning along with Michael and Ellen. So preliminary rough cost estimates for the infrastructure directly associated with the 21 home subdivision are coming in at around $1.3 million. So if you take the 1.3 million into the 21, you're not too far off of 70,000. What is it, 65 and some change probably. There will be substantial additional cost, or I think the way I say may that substantial additional cost may be associated with improvements that will need to be considered for existing infrastructure in the area. So we know that Allison Park is deficient in its stormwater control. We also know that there's some street conditions in the area of Rainbow involving Cardinal and Chickadee where we have substandard streets. And so there is going to be elements of an improvement plan and program that we would need to embark on in addition to this infrastructure, yes?
Let me interject right there. So this property, basically up the hill from Rainbow Drive, so to access it, we go up Sunset Lane, which becomes Cardinal. Cardinal, I'm not sure, is that a township road right now? Is that still Richland Township? And then Chickadee Lane cuts off to the left off Cardinal. And there's one home up there, which is now a B&B. It's the only house on it. And that one has, it's in rough shape, the road. It's in rough shape. So there's gonna need, before you get any deeper, significant improvement to what you would call a street up there at this point. And Jason, from memory, and any of the three of you, I believe the Wheats at some point, somewhere around 15 years to 20 years back, had put water and electric up there, but not sewer, and obviously not a street, is that correct?
The electric runs through across the top.
Yeah.
From Chickadee all the way down to that trailer park that's down there by the American Legion.
Yeah.
You have water running through the center of the property already. So we've incorporated that main water line that runs through the center. And then the road was always planned to be moved up adjacent to that water line.
So when you look at this, I believe there's a fire hydrant up in there somewhere.
There's two. One on each end. Yep.
And then if you drive up there, and I'm going to invite all of you to do so, when you drive up onto Rainbow Drive, if you know our city ordinance about what a street is, it sure doesn't look much like one. There's no curb and gutter, etc. So as Mr. Lamont has pointed out, I believe the plan always was where you now own the land to put the street in the first place.
I'll give you the whole tour of the land off of my original plan.
So let's jump back on track, and we will definitely be answering all of those important questions.
Yeah, just a little bit more here. So there's actually, I want to use the phrase two birds, one stone. It's actually bigger than that. But Jason's going to get deeper into it. We've done a lot of conversation on this, and the point I want to make before he gets deeper, so we talk all the time, at least I do, I think you guys have heard me a lot, about what it's like trying to build houses in such a beautiful but hilly region and the challenges that brings. So you're getting it back in 2 seconds. But when you start talking about water runoff, which Jason's always on the forefront, every time we bring something up, he's wise enough to say, what about that? Okay, it's yours again.
Right. Well, and Michael's been awesome with that too, so we'll bring his plan back up here. I did want to point out that some key considerations and points that I'd like you to keep in mind as we're talking here is our need for a new subdivision, right? We've had no shortage of conversations about that. 2, project viability gap and need for city participation. That's referring back to the fact that if a lot costs us $65,000 to put in, and that's raw cost, that's no incentive to the developer, no profit margin, no risk, no margin for risk, anything like that. And we consider what we think a saleable lot price is. Let's say it's $25,000 or $30,000. So you take the gap between 30 and 65, and we're looking at a $35,000 investment. And the developer's doing it because they feel good about doing it versus...
I don't feel that good about that explanation.
So this ties into the bottom one, which is pursuit of TIF district, which we can definitely demonstrate that in this case, but for the city's involvement, this development is probably not going to occur. So we would look at TIF, and I already pointed out the need for infrastructure improvement in the surrounding areas. So with that, I wanted to give you that background. Todd added to that. I want to get back on track to Michael and Ellen here to talk about what we have here, which I don't know if I can get any bigger, but this is the layout that Michael has been working on. Michael and Ellen have been working on for a long time, and I'll let you take it away from there, and if you've got questions at any time, we can try to answer those.
You know, if you want, I'd start with stormwater management, but the plan here in the lower right-hand corner, so north is to the right, south is to the left, west up above, but the lower right-hand corner is your lowest spot on this land at about, surveyed in at about, what, 761 feet in elevation. Your retention pond that I sketched down there on the lower left, that is that infill plateau that was created from the excavation of Lake Llewellyn. So that infill plateau there is about at 740. As a matter of fact, if you can see that soccer net down there on the bottom, that's about at 730. So you've got 761 at the intersection of Rainbow Road, Snyder, and Sunset, and then Cardinal coming down the bottom. If you would create a stormwater pipe, you could have passive drainage from that intersection at the corner of Sunset, Snyder, Rainbow, and Cardinal up the Rainbow Road corridor, land that I own, drop it back down to Fern to catch some more stormwater pipe, and then come through at South Fern there. There's that little brow right there. That is lot number 4 that my sister got with her house when she bought Rosalie Wheat's house, which is right there. So she owns 4, I own 6 and 7. And then I also bought the lot from Mr. Saul right there that we will talk about for future development, but that's also a lot that's buildable once we correct some of the existing deficiencies. But anyhow, so that's stormwater control. We were very aware of that. We took the stormwater shed all the way off of the crest up there above Chickadee, right there. So there's a little bit of a brow right there. Much of it goes to the north. A lot of it goes to the south. So it's kind of split like 55, 45. The Chickadee Cottage up in there, that's owned by Mr. Deckert. And that's the last one up there on Chickadee. So stormwater control we addressed, and we'd also like to pick up some intermediate stormwater control if we create that drainage element. if we do stormwater control at that intersection of Rainbow, Sunset, Snyder, that also picks up all that watershed from that entire bowl up there by the passages, the bottom of the Frawley land up to Snyder, and Parkview actually comes down, and it seems to be lower at that intersection of Parkview and Snyder, and Parkview seems to come up a little bit on that other side. So I think we pick up a lot of stormwater control at that bottom intersection, so that's about all I can say. Right now, some of the neighbors notice a lot of water coming down Hardy there, and Hardy comes down and actually floods, and it just kind of runs over into their lawn, and it goes down to Lake Llewellyn eventually. So that's stormwater. That's our stormwater plan. Now that, of course, isn't necessarily geared totally towards building 21 homes on that hillside, but it encapsulates a larger watershed area that we could plan. So anyhow, as far as lot lines, I think you addressed a little bit of it in the earlier meeting where we laid out these lot lines so that on the lot lines, the utility easements would follow those lot lines up to the higher plateau. If you imagine this as 3 shelves, the green line on the bottom there represents what would be your existing Rainbow Road that I would like to convert to a little walking path right along there. So that's one of our green space walking paths. Above that, the first shelf there would be 6, potentially 7 lots. The one on the lower right-hand corner, the oversized one, may have some amount of stormwater detention or retention on that lot. So that's a little bit of a variable depending on how we manage the rest of the stormwater. The second shelf are larger lots. Some, of course, get up to half-acre lots. Again, the easements for the third shelf would go right up those lot lines. Your new water pressure, I don't know when you upgraded the water pressure to 820, but at 820 elevation, I can pick up all those lots along Chickadee up there on top with your existing water pressure when the houses are laid out there. So that's my rough plan for your utilities. Both the blue is the water, of course, the brownish is your sanitary. But that on the right-hand side, you'll see a little bit of a tree diagram of that vertical utility easement going up there. We'd like to get a new fire hydrant up there on top on Chickadee, of course, for safety. Anybody that insures their house will want a fire hydrant near there, of course. And then if you ever do anything with the Decker property or some of that other county property up there, if that ever becomes available for residential building, at least you'd have water and sewer at that 820 line. And that's it. You know, you were talking about easements coming through on the lot lines again. If on the right-hand side on Cardinal, those 2 properties had a driveway going out onto Cardinal, then again, your backyard setback being typically 20 or 25 feet, that utility line would come up right up their backyard. The side yard setbacks on those next 2 homes, of course, having a 10-yard side yard, is a little bit nicer if you have to get a truck up there to fix a broken water pipe, if that's a little bit wider than the 20 feet. But at least between houses and their standard setbacks for their lots would be 10 feet on each side, of course, of the lot line. So that's the layout for the 21. In the upper left-hand corner, that is well above the 820 elevation. That would be right in that area there where those, so that's a little bit well above the 820 that water pressure could go to, but for not that much money, I could drill a well on that one. And then I would still run sanitary up there to pick up sanitary sewer, and then you put a meter on that and you still charge for water management. Along Chickadee, you have a line of power poles up there. And I didn't talk to Scott, your electrical utility guy, that much about it. And the power lines are there. You have a right-of-way there now of about 33 feet. At some time, looking ahead in the future, if Chickadee ever ran across that right-of-way that you have there, that 33 feet, the county also has some land before you get to the Deckard property. So I think you could easily get your 60-foot right-of-way along that top Chickadee that would continue onto that field that would be above that campus area. So, see that big field up in there? So if that area was ever developed, I think you could do, I wouldn't want a major arterial, but I think you could at least get a road along that existing right-of-way, and then I would plan those setbacks on those upper lots so that it would respect that future need. So we may, in our covenants, we might have deeper setbacks on that set of homes along that upper lot.
Jason, would you do me a favor? Can you show me, I think you could show me how far down Highway 14 is from where we are? Coming down. I'm sorry. The 14
highway, I'm
how
sorry,
far
okay,
down?
yeah.
So we still, okay, there it is, down there. Okay, and you're talking, so I'm just trying to get in my head which field that was that you were talking about.
One above the campus.
I got it now, just to make sure I had the picture straight. Okay, thank you.
Jason, for some reason, I cannot orient myself to the picture.
Okay.
The drawing versus the Google Maps, are we looking at it in the same direction?
No, it would be like,
This
this.
There you go.
It's a little hard to keep up with you right now.
So that is this.
Okay.
So this is Fern right here, Fern Drive,
Okay, bring the picture back.
and Rainbow is here. That's small, but, so this is the current Rainbow and then Fern Drive. And so if we look at this is Rainbow
Right,
and
there
here's
you go.
Fern Drive.
Okay.
And if you go up,
Sorry.
all the way up the hill onto Chickadee and cut across, this is where the campus is. And
Yeah.
this is excellent long-term planning discussions, right? Because the county is about to announce their findings from the engineering firm they contracted with to give a space needs and condition report of the entire campus and all of the county buildings. So we know with the change in the UW system leaving, things like that, that we really need to be engaging in long-term thought processes. And some of those may include, or it's wise to include, a discussion about, is there ever a connection from the Allison Park area back over into the campus area? So we may, Planning Commission, all the people involved may get to the point and say, no, it's a bad idea, it's too expensive, or you know, we don't want it. But unless we talk about it, I think it's our responsibility to talk about it and to try to figure out the pros and cons of doing something like that. So long-range planning, we definitely need to be having that discussion about, is there a connection or isn't there?
Okay, question while you have this map up. So Rainbow, the houses in Rainbow are in the city.
Yes.
Rainbow itself is in the township, Chickadee's in the township, and above in the street, so Marshall Apartments are in the city. The street above the Marshall Apartments are in the township, correct? Is that kind of where
I think
I'm
that's
going
right.
here?
Right now,
You're doing
You're good,
pretty
Mark.
Mark, you're doing pretty well here.
Okay.
Yep.
So Rainbow Drive is township, Rainbow is city. The hill is township, no, it's here, so it must be city,
Do we,
right?
Town.
do we,
Okay.
hey, Jason,
Township, yeah.
you had
Okay.
a graphic once that showed the rectangle that was
Yeah.
left in the township, which is goofy because it shouldn't have been, but.
My 12 acres is
Yeah.
all township. It's zoned ag residential.
Okay.
So our running joke the last year has been, I don't care because I could have a nice pig farm right there.
Yeah.
I'd love it. It'd be great.
I live on that side of town.
Who wouldn't like a pork roast a couple times a year, right?
So we talk about, and
So even
Jason,
though this is township, if we discuss this, do we have to talk to the township about how does this become a city? I realize it's the extraterritorial, how does this become a city issue if this is township land?
Mark offered.
So I'll offer my take on that.
Okay.
Is that it's in a city's interest, right, to
Yes.
continue to have growth.
Yes.
The way that happens is through annexation, and part of the reason that annexation occurs is because the municipality can offer utilities that a township on its borders can't, right? It's pretty rare for a township to be offering the city municipal utilities. So for that reason, and typically I think you can say that, that it's harder to say today because of inflation, but normally when you can develop in bulk or you hit an economy of scale, you can offer a parcel of land for sale with services that are provided long-term at a little bit less expensive than what you can buy a lot, out, a 2-acre lot, and put in a septic system and put in the well and do all of those things. So it's a very positive thing for us to be talking about, and because we do have extraterritorial zoning where we are protective of the fact that we have, what's the term, Rod, water aquifer, or is that, we're trying to protect the water supply to the city. So when you start talking about development in a town and you say, yeah, go ahead and put in 100 wells, that can be not a good thing for the city's ability to provide utility water to the municipality. So there's a lot of things that go into it.
I'm completely in agreement with this. It's just we're at a city meeting having a discussion about township property.
Well, no, it's not township property, it's property owned by these individuals who, at their will and at their choice, can say, we would like to annex. And those are the discussions that
That's the ultimate goal.
Yes.
I'm actually glad that came up though, because then you just walked through how sort of convoluted that right now is. What is township and what, these folks came, I met you a year ago.
Oh, I'd love to have it in the city because it's going to help all of our tax base.
Well, I don't,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know who said what to who, but within days of our meeting, Matt Schmitz, who's on the township board of Richland Township, called me and asked me, in his words, if we could do some horse trading so that they no longer had to send a plow truck up to do chicken. So they're aware of
We had that discussion with him too.
So they're aware of this.
He made us a better offer than that. He said, please, take the road. But no, that's a good point, because ultimately we want annexation. You know, it isn't just fresh water and drilling wells. We want sanitary waste management. That's the most important thing when it comes down to developing anything. And I think at one time too, you said, what we try to avoid is sawtoothing up and down the perimeter. You want to have a global provision of services, because once we sell these lots, our job is done. It's like, I bought the house for my sister, it's like, my job is done here, you guys, so I'm cool with the family again, but I'd rather build some homes too, since I have it. But we could go ahead and look ahead at your return on investment regardless of what you do. You look at 21 homes on a hillside, what's it going to be generating in taxes? So that's always what you want to do, to see where's my economic foundation for what you're doing.
Well, it can also help with the stormwater in that entire Allison Park area, once this plan comes to fruition.
You want to dig a trench, get it while I own all the land.
Right,
Right?
yeah, here it is.
It makes sense to do it at once. It's just
It's a lot.
I will
It's
say
a lot.
that my feeling, and of course we haven't done any cores or anything yet, but my feeling is that infill plateau, with all that grade that you put up there when you excavated, I think that would be really easy, because the elevation is perfect to drain off of that intersection. I think that infill plateau would be really easy for your excavator of choice to bowl that thing out and create a retention or detention, depending on the absorption you want, to create a large cubic volume there that stormwater could collect. And that would give you a better elevation than all going down there on Lake Llewellyn, and give you an intermediary that you could drain off to the left to get down to that river point. So that's kind of new. I didn't think of that a year ago. That was, a month or two ago where I went through and did that plan. So, and I had engineering do 2 different things for us, for sanitary too. So the city is in a process of reviewing some of their sanitary loads in that area. So I have 2 engineering concepts paid for, whether sanitary comes off this hillside with these 21 homes and goes down to Fern, which would be an easier, cheaper connection, or to handle the volume to go all the way out there to Rainbow as it was originally proposed. But if you go down Rainbow, you're digging up more of the street, you're running a lot longer line, it's more expensive, and it goes to the same point anyhow. So this is my latest plan on sanitary. So we talked about water, we talked about sanitary, we talked about a larger picture of stormwater control, we talked about setbacks, and we talked about roads and arterials. Oh, and walking paths. The other thing I really want to do, if you see those green shadings there, one of my earliest things was to create better pedestrian or bicycling walking paths through this area, because right now, all the kids that go up there to Rainbow are walking either down Rainbow or they're cutting through everybody's back lawns, and you know, I'm cool with that, but I wanted some paths that connect that entire river park area with those hiking trails that are up on those ridges up there above the campus area, and that's what those two greens represent. So, I don't know, what else are you thinking?
I like it. Just yeah, that was my only question, is are we building our garage on our neighbor's land? And we haven't quite asked them that kind of thing yet. Yeah, no, I like it.
A couple of points that Ellen and I have discussed, and I won't talk out of turn. You say as much as you want people to hear right now.
I can do like I do to Mike and go,
Yes,
Yeah, I get you.
well, a couple of things we've talked about as possibilities is the type of homes that would be built up there.
Oh, yeah.
But would you please elaborate, or do you want to? If you don't, it's okay.
Yes, no, I don't mind at all, because I'm
Okay.
very, very excited about it. The first shelf, if you will, we are planning on all barrier-free, smaller homes, more, and I don't want to say affordable housing, because that's not it.
Right.
It's, they're not $500,000 houses, but they're all barrier-free. I have a number of mostly women, widows, right now, that I have spoken to over the last year in a what-if scenario, and they are so excited about being able to sell some of the farmland, sell their big 4 or 5 bedroom house that they're living in by themselves, so they can move into something like this and have something very easy to take care of, no steps, everything's on one level. So that's probably my most exciting portion right now.
Personally, I think that would be great, because I live in Richland Center's new subdivision, which is 30 years old, and there's still a list to get in because it's level.
That's exactly right. Now, these may have a basement, of
Yeah,
course,
but
but
still-
everything is going to, they're going to drive in and they're going to get out, and it's going to be all on one level. And we have 6 or 7, depending upon that detention area there on the right. But that's actually what got this whole thing started, was what we call Old Lady Haven. And I think it's going to be a huge, huge hit.
She said it this time, I did.
I had to say it because it's kind of cute, you know?
I'd like
It
her
is.
to
It's
sing the
cute.
song and do the dance, but
It's cute, it's cute, but I have a number of people already interested
Oh, yeah.
in that. So I'm really excited about that. Second tier would be more probably family homes, and then third tier, the same, just depending what people want. But I'm super excited about the tier 1.
You know, we did have, last year, we had one of your local contractors, Bailey, with Advanced Contracting Solutions, went up there with his brush hog. And we had, for Steve Kruger, he asked right out, he says, you know, that's so covered over with brush, that water line is inaccessible if anything ever happens up there. So we mowed that water line out, and then we went about 100 feet right up there that would represent a clearing area for the new road. There's still a lot of big pines sitting there, and that's a pretty good representation of it there. You can see what we cleared out. And then I had him do a loop with this brush hog around there, so you can walk around there pretty good. There's decent weeds that have come back, but pretty good hiking path. We kicked 2 deer off of there this afternoon, and I have both dogs. They come back with a lot of birds, so take your brush along if you're gonna take your dog up there. But if you park on Chickadee up there, you can drop off of Chickadee. There's a couple deer trails, and about the second telephone pole in, about where that blue dot is right there, there's a telephone pole, and there's a trail that goes right up to Chickadee right there. So you can come right off there and get down there on the land, and pretty good. You get a good feel of you get off that Chickadee, and there's a pretty decent plateau for building there, and you'll come off of Chickadee, which might be at an elevation of about 840, let's say, and then down about where that blue dot is there, it's more about 825, so you're gonna have a fire hydrant right up there. But to drop down on a 820 where you pick up the water pressure and still have a home with good elevation in there, and you're coming off the high side, so again, your living plateau is right there where you're driving in. It's pretty nice.
The view is phenomenal
Yeah.
from up there. It is phenomenal, no matter where you're at.
And you get farther over there where the last of that land, it's inaccessible by water pressure. Now, Steve also has some engineering research that he's doing to try to create a water pressure loop that may come off of that side later on. But I think I'm not in a big hurry to do anything, but if I was going to put a home on that point, for not very much money, I could do a well there for now and do whatever with it later on. But that point has really good elevation. Now you get above there onto that field, and you're still going up. So if that point is at 860, 870, something like that, you're still going up onto that field. You can see all the way down there to the Frank Lloyd Wright warehouse. So pretty neat.
You mentioned not in a hurry, for that one point up there. So if everything was optimum, what would be like a time frame? Or if everything went smoothly, do you want to like right now kind of thing? Or I plan to do this in like 5 years if everything goes through?
No, it'd be great if we could do something next year.
Next year would be good.
If we wanna
I
do
mean,
it
that's kind of what we're thinking.
This fall, you
Assuming
got
everything goes and okay, everybody approves.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Right.
some of these. I have a piece of plywood on my deer stand, and I do draw some of the stuff on my deer stand, so I'm okay with that. But
So we're moving,
Okay.
slow but sure, but we want to do it right, and we want to be very transparent about everything we do. That's what we've been speaking with these two for nearly a year, so we can get it out there and say, what do you think? What do the utilities guys think? Tell us what you.
And I think part of it too is that if you think this would fit in with what the community would like, another 21 homes on a hillside, and if I only have, you can almost count them there, there's only about 6 or 8 trees in the way. If a guy would have some loads of fill that he had to do something with that's right up there in that part of town, maybe in the industrial park or something like that. I mean, if a guy would say to himself, do I want to drive near to my work site, or do I want to drive all the way across town to where there's going to be a hospital someday? I would say, if I was a truck driver, if I just drive a couple blocks over to this little bit of land here and dump some nice gravel there, you'd have more coffee time. I'm just throwing ideas out there.
So this is, this possibility, this project's really exciting to me for a lot of reasons. The first one is we know the obvious need for single-family homes. And Mark, you just said the newest subdivision's 30 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, the next step in that, every time I've spoken publicly about possibilities for new homes, every single time, someone has approached me and said, put zero step.
Yep, there you go.
Every time.
They're coming.
Yeah,
They're coming.
Yeah, exactly. And then this parcel is so interesting because to accommodate other homes of existing areas, some of this utility work was already begun. You're sitting up here with water lines and fire hydrants and power
Yes.
lines. There's a head start on what any other land around would have. But we talk a lot about what it would cost. For instance, to get utilities to the hospital property, to get utilities over here for this, maybe, and that, and it's millions of dollars, plural. And I'm not saying this is cheap, because there is no such thing, but comparatively it is. Okay, and then lastly, what I like about it, and we are just blessed in this regard, the two people here with us tonight, Mike and Ellen, have been amazing. In the last year, I've met with them many times, Jason and Ashley have, and the city department heads, the utility department heads deserve credit on this as well. They've been very,
Very.
absolutely, they've been nose deep in it and very cooperative and helpful, great information every time. So there've been a lot of people involved, and I think everybody would say, man, did we get a break when Mike and Ellen showed up.
We hope, we just want to get these houses here, and that, my heart is here, so I think it is too, so I think that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
We're not in here to make millions of dollars. That's not what we're here for. We're here to bring houses to Richland Center.
And that's been obvious from the first time I met you with Ryan Cairns, and you said that to me in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, good, okay.
So
I
you
still
did,
think the
but
same.
But you've backed it for a year. I mean, everything you guys have brought has been about helping the community, which is wow, right? Jason or Ashley, any further comment on this?
What I think we're looking for is a possible plan commission motion. I have listed there, I think that it could be tailored. It says motion to report to council the preliminary review of the Lomont subdivision with support for continued city collaboration with the developer regarding the potential future development. I'm using development in there too much, but there's a lot to go through here, right? So we're considering TIF district. Because of the need for support to put the development in, we have to figure out, the city has to figure out where is the money coming from.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a big lift for us, and there are other elements, like I said, investment in the Allison Park area that are probably going to need to be improved. So this is not a small project. I do think there's probably a path forward for us if we hit it just right, where we could get that lower level, especially access to it. But there probably, there very well could be, we don't have the system capacity analysis back from the sanitary, but we know right now that the sanitary system there is at a level when we have storm events and rain events, that the sanitary system is actually maxing out. And it's because, Todd has explained this to us, it's because we have probably a bunch of water that's coming into basements, that's going into the sanitary sewer. So that's part of the problem that's created by not having storm sewer up there. So there's a lot we would be trying to accomplish. It probably rolls into a project that could involve CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funds, to improve the overall system. We're looking at the potential for TIF district. We've got an annexation land split. So there is a ton of work to do, and we'll have to, it's going to take some effort. It's going to take some effort.
But you want the commission to express, you're recommending that they would express their support for continued work on this.
Yeah, so hopefully that can come across. I'm just trying to make the picture real. It's not going to happen tomorrow, so.
Jason, I'll entertain a motion to report to council the preliminary review of the Lamont subdivision with support for continued city collaboration with the developer regarding potential future development.
I feel like came up with that on your list.
I did. Is there a motion?
I make that motion.
Motion for Mr. Jelenic. Is there a second?
A second.
Second from Mr. Wilson. Okay. Further discussion from the commission? Questions, comments while we have the builders right in front of us? Okay, then at that, if not, then I will have a roll call, please.
Coppernoll.
Aye.
Jelenic.
Aye.
Fagerlin.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Tepley.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Excellent. Okay, item 5, consider Richland Airport 93C proposal.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you both very much again.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
We'll be back, you know that.
Consider Richland Airport 93C proposal for airport improvements 8. I would guess the Director of Public Works might have a comment here.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get these opened up so we can kind of talk through and do a quick review. Hopefully, these were loaded pretty early, so hopefully you've had a minute to look at them. This is a process that we are required to go through to have federal grant funds allocated to our airport, 93C at Sextonville. So for some time, there has been an effort. This is an ongoing effort, right? Staff members before me, Dave Fry, a lot of people have worked with the Bureau of Aeronautics to make our airport what it is, former mayors, former alderpersons. So this is simply a continuation of that so that we can maintain access to federal funding. One of the requirements they have is that we clearly list out project elements that we believe could be part of future airport development. There's a few different things that are very important, and they are highlighted in the documents that are attached, and they're in bright yellow. This is the critical part. So what we are petitioning the Bureau of Aeronautics to do is to authorize funds for land acquisition, procurement of snow removal equipment, reconfiguring, reconstructing, or rehabilitating the taxiway connectors, associated lighting and signs, reconfigure, reconstruct, rehabilitate the apron, reconfigure, reconstruct, or rehabilitate runway 17/35 and associated lighting, taxi lanes, rehabilitation and reconstruction, conduct airport master plan exhibit, A and ALP update, possible T-hanger construction, or to construct maintenance buildings, crack fill and seal coat runway 1735, clear and maintain runway approaches as stated in Wisconsin Admin Code Trans 55, and any necessary related work. So one of the reasons that they require, this comes to Planning Commission, is because you're supposed to be overseeing development, and anytime property acquisition or disposal of city property is considered, you definitely need to be involved according to the statute. So the information packet started out with this cover letter drafted by the Division of Transportation Investment Management, and they're simply saying that they've built this packet out for us, but we need to execute on it, right? There is information that we will be asked to gather in support of receiving federal funds. So this is a checklist provided by them. We'll work with the Bureau of Aeronautics to gather the information. We really receive a lot of support from Wendy Hottenstein, who's the airport engineer for our location. She's very, very helpful. All the staff is there. Hal Davis is another Bureau of Aeronautics representative that consults on airport operations. So we receive a lot of support from them. They will assist us as well in putting this together to make sure we can receive the grant funds. Again, we've reviewed this. This is an actual resolution that will need to go to council that declares our desire to use the funds, and then also declares that we will, what's the term they assure, that we will use the funds in compliance with all state and federal regulation. The last thing, I guess, is my attachment there. So that's the packet. What we're looking for is a motion to report to Common Council that the City Plan Commission has considered and approves of the improvement items, so that's the highlighted area in yellow, as outlined in the draft resolution petition the Secretary of Transportation for Airport Improvement Aid. So that's what we're looking for. I'm glad to answer questions. This does not mean that there's any specific project identified yet at this point, right? So we have to continually work with the Bureau of Aeronautics to basically clearly identify the project and validate the project before they release the funds under specifications that we agree to, that's exactly how we'll execute. And that's the way we received our fixed base building out there, our airport building. They came in, they said, you do this, we do it, and then they provide the funds for the construction. They do also suggest that the city allocate up to 20% in addition to the funds that are provided or set aside for our municipality. So let's say they had $500,000, they would ask us to allocate in our budget $100,000 to meet matching elements. They suggest budgeting up to 20%, but what normally the match is 10%, I believe. So they're just building in a safety buffer, but it will have to be something that would be considered in our city budget.
So this is something that we've done for many years,
Absolutely, yes.
and every so many years they require that this be renewed.
Correct. Yep, and so on that point, normally you're supposed to have an airport master plan done. It's kind of like the comprehensive plan that you guys have worked through, right? You're supposed to have those done every 10 years. And they want you to have an airport master plan as well. Well, we haven't had one for a long time, so that's why our resolution actually includes allocating funds for the development of an airport master plan. So yes, this is a standard process of planning and receiving and then putting to work federal dollars.
And all of those things highlighted, those potential improvements or projects, you said it's not necessarily that we're going to do all of them, but it's important that we assess what all of the needs are or future planning elements are so that they're captured in this, because if we have not identified them, then they're not going to qualify for the aid.
Okay, can you read the motion that's listed on there? Can you just read it?
I can make a motion.
It's
I'll
fine.
make what?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'll make a motion to report to the Common Council that the City Plan Commission has considered and approves of the improvement items as outlined in draft resolution petitioning the Secretary of Transportation for airport improvement aid.
Give me the motion from Ms. Fagerland. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Tepley. Any discussion?
I have one question. This may not be super popular at all, and may be way off base. City has an airport. What benefit does it bring to the city for us to continue to put money into the air? I've never been to it. I've never used it. It could be used a lot. I have no idea. I'm just gonna ask the question. We continue to pay for this airport. Does the city benefit from having an airport? I mean, this may be a really stupid question.
It's an excellent question, actually.
I don't think it's a stupid question at all.
Because we keep paying for it, we keep talking about it. I'm sure we use it for something, but I'm not seeing it.
Well, the simplest, without this aid, then it would be
So
money
this is,
hemorrhage.
so it's pretty much to go for the aid, but this is a question for somewhere else of, why do we have an airport?
So I believe you said you've never been there, and you said you've not seen it. You're not seeing it, and I think those two are probably related.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that you go there.
I mean, we drive by it, I see the lights, there's planes in the air. We as taxpayers are paying for an airport that, I mean, if it's assisting our local factories in some way, if it's benefiting our community, that's great. I just don't, it doesn't personally have an impact on my life one way or the other. So I'm just asking because it's here.
I think it's a fantastic topic, and I think perhaps a future agenda item to have before this commission to have some of the pilots, for instance, that we hear from, but you might not, come down here and talk about what's going on in our airport, among other things.
Yeah, because it could serve a great purpose for the community. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm probably overlooking it and probably just not seeing it.
So I think it's a great point. I think it would make an excellent agenda item in the future to discuss the impact of the airport and have some of those who use it come in and explain it. I think it's a great thing to say and ask, because then we can get into a much deeper conversation.
Sure.
Yeah. Anybody else?
And I did hear just recently that the Tri-County Airport is now a two-county or
Yes.
bi-county airport, even though they can't rename it. But I don't know if that will
Who's
have
that?
any effect.
Which county is that?
Iowa. Iowa's out.
I believe there was a time, Rod, you may remember this, wasn't the airport in Sextonville once called the Tri-County Airport?
No.
I thought it might have been when I was.
No, it's always been the Richland Airport at Sexton.
Okay, my bad. Before, back in the day. It's been there, I don't know, forever. I don't know how long time. But I think we should have that on our future agenda, and I don't think it's a bad thing to ask or say at all.
Because, yeah, if we continue to, we spend money on things, is there a significant benefit to the taxpayers of Richland Center and benefits to the industries to pay for an airport, or are we paying for an airport for 6 people?
Fair question.
Yeah, so there are a number of positive things that happen in your economy due to access to an airfield like that. So, for example, some of the recent conversations I've had with pilots that fly in and out of there is we do have active, former Mayor Kaufman is a flight instructor, right?
Sure. Yeah.
There are a number of individuals who now serve in commercial flight as professional pilots that were actually trained in our airport and who still consider this home and who have invested greatly in the community. So is that a lot of people? No, that's not a lot of people, but the benefit that those individuals bring back to the community is substantial. I would agree with, I think, part of your assessment, which is that it's really hard to understand what we have if we don't explain it, right? And so I just had another conversation with an active pilot out there, and he said, do you know what this airport could mean to Richland Center? And I said, yeah, I have an idea. So we could have a local flight school out of there. We could have a mechanic that's making a living out of there. We could be doing a lot of events throughout the year that would draft in people who have the means to have aircraft, who then would take courtesy cars in and stay in hotels and patronize the businesses that we have. And actually, Ms. Tepley, do you have a story that you'd like to tell?
Oh, well, specifically?
Well, I'm thinking of a story that I heard, and I maybe shouldn't have said her name, that there actually have been people that fly into our airport to do business at a local bike shop.
Oh, yeah, that did happen. Yeah, there was a guy that flew in and Frank took 2 e-bikes out there and he loaded them up in his plane and off he went. But, yeah, it was.
So
That's cool.
there is a lot of benefit, but I do think even myself, I need to brush up on that, and we can have the Bureau of Aeronautics, because there are very broad economic effects of having an airport, and it would be good for us to all have a clear statement on that.
And that would be great to know, because it's one of those things, like you can see as a community, if a community loses a school, the impact it has. Okay, well, what impact does an airport bring or detract or do for a community that I personally don't see it, but that doesn't mean, like Schreiber's doesn't need it to maintain operation, which has a huge impact.
Yep.
Okay. Further discussion on this one?
Courtesy cars?
Okay, hold on. We still are sitting on a motion.
Oh, sorry.
Are we not?
Got way off.
Well, I guess if you want to answer it, she answered.
What is a courtesy car?
No, where are they coming from? Who's gonna?
Well, typically,
Like a retired squad car. or
yeah, it's a
something like
retired squad car.
Okay, and then who's gonna carry the liability and all that on there?
It's
Yeah, you already know what I'm thinking, because it's already been done and not been a good situation.
Many airports have them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just-
Well, I understand that,
Yeah.
but it's already been done and it didn't turn out real well. The last time,
What are we talking about?
courtesy
Okay.
cars out at the airport.
All right, hold on. We're gonna get all over the place here. I think, okay, this is another day. We have a motion and a second on the proposal for airport improvement aid. Is there further comment on that point? Okay, hearing none, let's please do a roll call on this.
Jelinek,
Yes.
Fagerland,
Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Tepley,
Aye.
Coppernoll.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, future agenda items. Wow, how convenient.
cars.
Okay,
Who's gonna pay for 'em?
I think in a general discussion of the economic impact of our airport. And I think that it should either be a joint meeting that includes the Public Works Committee, or they are at least encouraged to attend, because when issues come up out there, that's where that goes. You know, I need this for the runway, I need this for the hangar. It ends up in Public Works. And so I think when we get into this, because when this I have no doubt when we do this, we'll have some pilots here with some opinions and all of that we need to hear. And I think Public Works should hear the same thing we hear, because they're going to see, they'll be involved in all of this too. So I would like to have a comprehensive discussion of the economic impact of our airport on our agenda. And we can have courtesy cars in that conversation. We can do that. Okay, any other future agenda items? Go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about this wonderful report that we do every 10 years for the comprehensive plan. I did go through it the last couple days, and I was able to write down in a few sections. And just at the historic preservation meeting, there is an area in here where they could play a part under steward and celebrate community history. So I would like to see this back on the agenda going forward as an update, or just conversations around it, or if there's any any movement on it, so that it stays here and not on the shelf.
Okay, got that one. Any other future agenda items? Okay, that covers that. Next meeting date looks like September 25th.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Panorama Estates,
Okay,
is there an update on when the next building will be started?
no. There will be soon. No, there will be soon. But there's not, I can't tell you right now when they're gonna start.
Okay.
But if you stick around after the meeting, I'll tell you why I said that, but there is not, like, I can't tell you they'll be here Tuesday.
Okay.
Well, you could.
That could.
Why, but you could.
Did you want that on a future agenda?
I'd like to be kept informed of how it's going out there. It's going on years now.
Yeah, I know. Okay, all right. Fourth Wednesday of the month is September 25th, 5:30 p.m. Can everyone make that?
Yes.
Yes.
I will not be able to make that.
Do you have anything else you want to say about that?
I do.
I think you should.
This is actually my last planning meeting. I am resigning from all committees and boards that I'm on for the city, because I will be moving next week, actually. So our house is sold here, and we're moving to Phoenix, Arizona. So that's maybe about all I'm going to say, because I don't want to cry. But so it's been great working with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, too.
Really proud of the work we've all done.
And you should be, including your contributions to it. So thank you for everything.
Yeah, can I just say,
Yeah?
Candace, one of the things that I really respect about you, and it's an adage that we all are taught, but that we don't sometimes adhere to because of fear, which is there's no such thing as a dumb question. And Candace has asked some questions that I think a lot of people would be afraid to ask, and yet it has contributed to the conversation and better educated the public with regard to what is happening. So I really respect that about you, that you're willing to say, I just don't understand that. And you know what? You and probably 3/4 of the general population didn't understand that. So just thank you very much for being inquisitive and so kind in your interactions with me and everybody that I've seen you around. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's
I
been great.
think it's probably a stretch to attempt to annex your neighborhood in Phoenix.
Not a stretch.
So we'll have
Well,
to,
okay, maybe a stretch, but I'm willing to attempt it.
attempt that.
Yes.
So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess to add, I've been involved obviously in trying to attract some developers for our hotel here, which I will continue to be a part of that as much as I can. And Also because, you know, now I have even, I guess, a better agenda, which is that I need a place to stay when I come back.
That's true. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so September 25th,
Yes.
that works? There's that. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
Is
adjourn.
there a second?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.